Second time? Twakoma ku safari? Kulikayo Nairobi. Kulikayo Nairobi nyabo?
Navaayo.
Awo nno.
Gwe yakumyewo agenda Mbarara kati.
Neve Nairobi netugende Masaka era ng'akyali ku ebyo tebankulisaayo.
Yeah, I mean, of course, Mbarara is home. Everybody knows.
Mwangoba.
Welcome back. Hi guys, back with another episode of Weekly Wowos. Should be episode number 13. And I'm joined this week by our in-house motorsport expert. You know, it is the Pearl of Africa Rally weekend, and so we wanted to do a little bit of motorsport at a detail. And Sharifana Magoba Rama has joined us today.
Kawowo.
And usual suspect, Joseph from Homes is here as well. We'll be talking a little bit of rugby later on. But welcome, guys. I think I'm going to start with our weekly starters, and I want to start from the extreme. Joseph, what has been your starter?
Thank you very much, Franklin. I'm very happy to be back here on the Weekly Wowos episode 13. What a journey. My starter for this week is, of course, the Ginger Hippos. They have qualified for the final. And this means that they are one game away from claiming the Uganda National Rugby League title for the first time in their history. So kudos to them.
Very, very, very good. An up-country side getting to the finals, if I may call it that way. You would say rugby has gone outside Kampala, and
Indeed.
it is quite strong, especially when a few more teams are coming from Ginger. We may have Kakira, by the way, next season maybe, hopefully, and you have 3 teams from Ginger in the league. Welcome the show again, Joseph, Sharifa Rama, the in-house expert of motorsports. What has stood out for you?
I would just speak it from Joseph's line. Like you've said, rugby going out of Kampala. This year's Pearl is going to Western Uganda for the first time. So that's what I will really talk about. The excitement. Mbarara has always been one event that stands out on the NRC calendar. So if you have an ARC event going to Mbarara, that is a big plus for motorsport and the motorsport fans.
Mbarara people, cars are coming to your region, and not small cars of ARC people. And I'll jump to myself. I think my starter for the week was the game between UCU Cannons and Nam Blazers. Nam Blazers completing the first round of the season unbeaten. I think largely expected from many. But what was the difference? That UCU gave number 1 Blazers probably their best or their hardest game of the season. They needed the final 2 minutes to claim the win. When you look at a 10-point win, you may think the game was one-sided, but it was until the final 2 minutes that Nam Blazers might pull away when UCU dropped what you would call a little bit of cold feet, and they couldn't score. Neither could they stop Nam Blazers from scoring. I thought that was a statement game from UCU Cannons, who are going to make a lot of noise, I believe, in the second round. But also happening this week outside Kampala, in the northern city of Gulu, the Girls' Schools Cricket Week went to the northern city for the first time. And as you may have noticed, the usual host, Dennis Musali, is not here. Dennis is in Gulu, overseeing the tournament, if I may put it that way. Of course, he's there in 2 capacities, as a UCA official and our in-house cricket expert. Obviously, I will let Dennis give us the starter and what is happening in Gulu in the Girls' Schools Cricket Week.
The Weekly Wowos is live in Gulu City, where the Girls Cricket Week Championship started yesterday, with 16 schools taking part in this tournament. Light SS from Sorority are the defending champions, but they will be facing a big battle from 3 other schools that I think are favorites in this tournament. Olida three-time winners, Olida High School, missed out on the championship last year at home. But I'm sure they'll be pushing for that title because they have some good players in that team. Youngsters such as Malisa Ariokot, Lona Anyait, who've played for the Victoria Powers before. So they should be one of the favorites. But record winners, GGSS, they've won this championship 8 times. Will be here pushing for the envelope. They've been unfortunate for the last few times because they've been losing in the semi-finals. But this time I think they'll be looking for an opportunity for them to try and win their 9th title. Gaza High School back in the championship last year in Soroti. They also back in Gulu City this time. They've won the championship 4 times. But Gaza were really very dominant at the beginning of the tournament. Later on, as other schools caught up with them, they haven't been able to add to their 4 titles already. But this should be a very, very good opportunity for some young talent to show what they can do and be able to push for places in the under 19 girls team as well as the senior Victoria Powers team. So it should be an interesting 7 days coming up in Gulu. Unfortunately, it's been raining, so a couple of games were washed out on the first day. But we hope that the weather is kind to the teams and they can be able to have the championship running on very, very smoothly. The teams will be playing at 5 different grounds in Gulu. That shows the growth of the game in the different parts of the country. The tournament happened in Soroti for 2 years, and by the time it shifted to Gulu, at least 5 different facilities in Soroti could be able to host the tournament. Gulu is following the same footsteps. They have been able to host a tournament at 5 different grounds. Where I am right now is the Gulu High School Cricket Oval. JJSS is taking on DJSS, but there are games being happening at Gulu Public Primary School, Gulu Prisons Primary School, and at St. Joseph's College Library. There are 2 grounds there. So that makes it a total of 5 hosting facilities in Gulu. Should be an interesting tournament. We should be able to watch some young talent coming up. I haven't mentioned St. John's Mukono, who have the young and exciting Irene Muton in that team. She's been able to also feature for the Victoria Powers, but as well as Gringish Nabulime, their captain, who has been part of the under 19 girls team. Masaka SS, handled by the former under 19 girls coach Yusuf Nanga, should be your favorites as well. They have some good talent in that team. Nakakande and Barbara Nanyanzi, also very, very good players. They should be able to help the team push for a place. Ever since Proskovia Alako left the school, they haven't been to the semi-finals again, but you hope that now they have the experience of making sure that they can make the semi-finals. Nyakasura Girls School and St. Henry's Mukono SS making their debuts at this tournament. St. Henry's are from the central region, while Nyakasura Girls are from the western region of Uganda. Those are the 2 schools making their debuts. The rest of the other schools have been here. But do not be surprised when schools like Iganga SS also push the envelope. Ruth Muanga last year, the star of the show for Iganga SS, and also pushing a cause for herself to be part of the team at the back end. But to be part of the under 19 girls team, unfortunately she didn't make it, but she put on such a good show for a school that was making its debut at this particular tournament. Should be an interesting 7 days, and I'm very, very excited to be here and see the next the future stars for the Victoria Powers are taking part in this tournament. On another note, in the National Men's League, I think Franklin will be smiling. I made my season debut yesterday in an unfortunate loss for Wanderers. I went down to Kachi Tigers with 7 wickets, but I think a very good game between the 2 teams. A proper punch for punchy game. Wanderers scoring 173, but Kachi Tigers able to find 174 runs after dropping only 3 wickets. So Franklin, there you have it. At least I was able to take part in the game. Maybe the next one we shall see how it goes. But there's a lot of cricket that has been happening in the National League. We'll make sure we'll give you an update we'll give you an update about that when we come back to Kampala. But the here now is that the National Girls Schools Cricket Week Championship is happening in Gulu City.
A good season from Cricket Uganda to take the Girls Cricket Week to Gulu for the first time. Having been hosted in Soroti the past 2 editions, again, it is very important for sport to move around the country. I think federations have to be a bit deliberate in trying to move the game around the country, and kudos to UCA for taking the game to Gulu. We hope the impact is going to be felt there, and girls are going to fall in love with the sport, and the people around northern Uganda should be able to fall in love with cricket. But moving on into the gist of the show. This weekend, sport generally and motorsport in particular lost an important person, Rajiv Ruparelia, died in a motor accident on Saturday. Obviously, the teams that are involved, though that are associated with Ruparelia Group, you're talking Victoria University Sharks and Victoria University basketball, and obviously Rajiv rally team in motorsport. It was a huge loss on over the weekend, and a very sad weekend, sad week to start motorsport. But Sharifa, obviously Rajiv was most popular for the time when he joined motorsport, when he tried to take on motorsport. Obviously, from the several interviews that he has had, including our own that we had with him, I think in 2021, this much younger had that interview with him. He talked of how he got into motorsport and more of that. Briefly take us through how Rajiv got into motorsport. And when.
Just to talk about Rajiv's death first, people need to know that Rajiv died a day after the day we lost another rally legend, Rajiv Kuji. Rajiv died 16 years ago. It was on 2nd May, and Rajiv's death came out on 3rd May. So it's really a sad week for the motorsport fraternity. Rajiv started rallying in 2019. His first big event, the one that stood out, was the Pearl of Africa Rally. He came as a route opener. You see, the cars that start the stage before the real competition starts. So he was a route opener in Pearl of Africa Rally, and he had his first event. He continued doing some events in the CRC, the Club Man Rally Championship, and he was at the verge of winning that event. Unfortunately, Rajiv is a speed merchant. You don't tell him what to do. He had a chance of winning the Club Man Rally Championship, but the rules of the CRC, you do 70% of the event. Yes. So once you're done with the 70% of the itinerary of the event, you need to put your car in the park fermé. After that, you wait until you're given your accolades. But Rajiv, I remember it was 2019 Kapeka Rally. Rajiv did the 70%. He was reading the rally overall. And then he was like, I can win this event. I'm fast enough. I have a big lead. Let me go back and do the event. And guess what? People pleaded with him, please don't go. You're going to lose this title. But you don't tell Rajiv what to do. If he wants to do something, you go for it. He was so passionate about speed. Rajiv went ahead because there were 2 events remaining. And Rajiv went for the penultimate stage. And guess what? It did not come out. So he lost the event win and he lost the Club Man Rally Championship title to Pasua. After that, we lost part of Rajiv because we went into COVID. So motorsport was shut down. Actually,
sports generally
was shut down. So we missed having more of Rajiv because that's a time when he was so hype, so fresh. He has already made a statement in motorsport. Then we went out. He came back in 2021. Rajiv has 9 events to his name, but those events were enough to seal, to give an approval to what he could do in motorsport. A speed merchant at that, a passionate person, very determined to bring out a big performance in motorsport, and that's what exactly Rajiv did. In a short time, if you're going to rate some of the speed merchants we have in motorsport, Rajiv is among those. His name is somewhere there.
Okay. I mean, when you talk about him as a driver of who had speed in him, how was he as a competitor?
Rajiv was a fast driver. In the 9 events that he has done, though among the 9 events, we have events that he did in Kenya as well. If it was not for the technical setbacks, he was a fast driver at the same time a risk taker. Like I said, you don't tell Rajiv what to do. I remember there is a time we're in Ginger and this co-driver came complaining, but man, this guy, you caution him, he doesn't want to listen. He tells you he knows what to do. So that is Rajiv. He was a fast driver, a skilled driver, but still a risk taker. When you're a risk taker, chances of finishing an event were so slim. So he was not consistent, but it does not take away the fact that he was a very speed match and a fast driver.
Yes, obviously, Rajiv is one of the few rally drivers that went to rally school. I think he got his training in South Africa at some point. But overall, how will the motorsport fraternity I miss his contribution to the sport? How much?
Motorsport is going to miss Rajiv. Rajiv is coming to motorsport. Rajiv came with energy, came with great feeling. Rajiv brought in a lot of hype, brought in lots of fans, and he came in with the money. In the money, I mean in terms of sponsors. Rajiv, as Rajiv, away from motorsport, is an influential person. So motorsport had a sponsor, and beyond him, he came in with a lot of sponsors. Also as a competitor, an entry that has Rajiv, just know there's going to be tight competition. He was he used to set the pace, because there are events that he went to and you're like, Rajiv has this one. If he stays on the road, so such a person, it will be the benchmark for competition. So motorsport will miss a rally driver, because we cannot, however much he had gone into sabbatical, we cannot say that he had really thrown in the towel. Because he still had his car, the VW Polo. So definitely someone who still who owns a rally car, at one particular time will be back in the sport. So we missed a rally driver. At the same time, away from competition, Rajiv was an administrator. But at the time of his death, he was the current chairperson, board of trustees of CMC.
That's the Central Motor Club.
Yes, Central Motor Club. And Rajiv did a lot of things for motorsport, for CMC Club. Rajiv was a very intelligent person and very innovative. I happened to be in some of the meetings with CMC, and Rajiv brought in ideas that really changed CMC Club. As I speak now, most of the events that were organized by CMC were really used to shine out. Because from the organization, the way they did their things, it was all Rajiv is doing. He would recommend. I'll give you an example of Sexy Rally. It went to Ginger. That event trended in both and good ways, and that's what exactly that Rajiv wanted. You see, for him, he would just bring an idea, and so many people have opinions about it, good and bad. So that event trended in the bad and good way. Some people are like, we cannot associate ourselves with such a title of an event, Sexy Rally. What does it mean? What does it really appeal to? We are responsible people. We cannot be in such an event. But it trended, and the stakes were really high.
There was a lot of noise around it.
You never know what was on Rajiv's mind, but that event trended because of the name. And it was the CMC Club organizing it. So motorsport, Central Motor Club is going to miss Rajiv. Like I told you, he came in with the money.
And the people.
Yes,
and,
the money, the sponsors.
Being a sport that requires a lot of money.
And you have the sponsors, and you lose such a person with the influence he has. Because he has been a renowned business person. He knows big people. And I remember one time we are fundraising for an ambulance. Rajiv was one person who would just get out his phone, dial a number, and call someone. Hey, we are fundraising for something. Can you please fund us this and this? And before you know, he tells you that so-and-so is going to send some money. So he brought in the money and sponsors. And such a person going away from motorsport is a big loss. It's a really big loss.
May he so rest in peace. Motorsport, I cannot add more to that. Obviously, sport generally is going to miss him, Victoria University Sharks, Victoria University basketball, and everything around Victoria University. But we shall move on to the biggest motorsport event in the land. It is happening this weekend, and it's happening in a place that has not happened before. For the first time, the Pearl of Africa Rally is heading west to the land of milk and honey, as they call it, Mbarara. Sharifa, how did the Pearl of Africa Rally, first of all, come about?
Africa a Pearl of Africa Rally is an Africa Rally Championship round. ARC goes into different countries, and Uganda is one of those. Initially, we did not have an event, ARC event. And just to take you back in the history, FMU was not the FMU that we know. Initially, we had, the federation was called Automobile Association of Uganda, AAU.
Yeah.
Then there was that breakaway, and the people who broke away from AAU started FMU.
Yeah.
So we didn't have an African Rally Championship round. It was in Burundi. So there is a time Burundi had political instabilities. So Uganda offered to organize that event. That is 1996.
Yeah.
So after that event, we had to organize our candidate event in 1997. So since then, we have never looked back. We have been organizing ARC with the exception of those COVID years. And that's how we got the ARC round. And Uganda remains a strong foundation of the ARC because so many people have withdrawn. South Africa is no longer organizing.
Yeah.
Zambia recently withdrawn from organizing the event.
Yeah.
And Uganda, we are the backbone now of ARC.
Okay, abantu bagambye we tugamba candidate event tubanga bali ku trials mupiira.
Exactly.
Bakola trials ne tuziyita, and that thing doesn't happen quite often because obviously the logistical requirements of having an African event like that are quite high. And
yeah, organizing, and motorsport is all about safety.
yeah.
And FIA is so cautious. They take safety as paramount. So
Yeah.
as a candidate event will test you whether you can really put up all the safety precautions. You have all what it takes. Do you have the routes? Can you manage those routes safety-wise? Uganda is funds. So candidate event will always look up to everything that makes up a big rally, an FIA, yeah. Certified event.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the Pearl of Africa Rally, let's talk about where it is going for the first time. Obviously, Mbarara hosted the second round of the African Rally Championship, and you ran a story about a few changes in the stages and routes. Let's do a little bit. What has changed about the routes or the stages for this round?
okay. This year's Pearl of Africa Rally, it's showing all signs of being an exciting event. From the fact that it's going to Mbarara, Western Uganda, it has been in Central, it has been in Jinja for several years.
Yeah.
Now it's going to Mbarara, Western Uganda. And like I told you earlier when we were starting our show, Mbarara Rally, the national rally event, NRC event,
Yeah.
has always been the best on the calendar. Now taking Pearl Rally, the ARC event there, it's really exceptional, and you expect fire, you expect thrill because they have good events, they can create closed events, and Mbarara itself, it has vibe, if I may say. So a lot has changed. Previously, we had the first round of NRC happening in Mbarara. But surprisingly, all the stages that they ran on are going to change.
Okay.
Only one event, that is the Rumala stage, which was called the Mama stage,
Yeah.
is the only stage that is familiar with the local crews.
Yeah.
So all the events, the 5 stages they are going to that are happening in Mbarara Pearl, they are all new to the drivers. So both the foreign crews and the local crews are at square one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there is no advantage because usually local crews have an advantage of having been to the same stages, but this time they are all at the same zero because they are meeting the stages for the first time. Uganda has a problem of finding closed routes. Fortunately, in Mbarara, the Kakuta stage and Charles Moy and the Ankole Cow stage are going to be all fully closed. That's why they are appealing to fans to they have organized a viewing point
Viewing
in
points
those
for the
yeah.
rally. Yeah.
They are fully closed, safari rally style, but still there will be a viewing points for the fan whereby they will be able to watch cars in 6 kilometers. You see a car coming 6 kilometers, they put some chicane,
Yeah.
the car will do whatever it has to do when you're seeing it for 6 kilometers before you be in a stage and the car just passes you and you don't see it again.
Oh, yes.
So they have made it a very enjoyable for the fans, for the crews. Before we came here, I was talking to one of the drivers who was coming from doing recce, and he was telling me how fast these roads are and how some of them are technical.
Yeah.
The story that I ran, the CRC, the deputy COC, that is Alfred Mutanda, told me one of the exceptional event stage is Charles Mohanji stage. Talk about Charles Mohanji. Charles Mohanji stage. He said that is the real rally. It has everything that will call for the skills from the driver. It's taking the call. It has some roughs. It has some airpins. So our driver who is so technical will enjoy such a stage. So everything is new. The drivers are expected to enjoy these stages, and probably I'll come back and tell you what they will say about these stages. Now, talking about Charles Mohanji, since we are talking about Africa Rally Championship, you need to remind ourselves that Charles Mohanji is the only African, black African. If I say African, it's white, black African to have won the Africa Rally Championship.
And he's Ugandan.
And he's Ugandan, yes. That's why that name is really, really, really big. What I'm saying was, he's a Ugandan regardless. Yeah, he's a late, but he still remains a Ugandan.
Yeah.
So the name Charles Mohanji, when we talk about it, you even have to bow down, because when it comes to motorsport in Uganda, Charles Mohanji is Charles Mohanji, the ARC. Yes, it's big.
Sharifada, you know, when you talk about a rally going to the same place where a local crews had experience, my worry was always, ngaba ina notes already. Tebagenda kuba bibuzo. But when you clarify like that and saying that most of the stages but one are new to everyone, it means they are all going to start almost with the same disadvantage or advantage, if I may put it that way.
Yes, but still, Murade Tedikuba, there is nothing like ceiling.
So,
you can even do Reiki for a week, but then it will get back to the skills and your car, you understand?
Yep.
So there is no such an advantage. Yes, it could be an advantage that you don't have to do a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like when you go into a new stage whereby you have to do the notes and so many things changes. Even that Rumala stage that I've told you about. In Mbarara, the first event, they are going to do it in reverse.
Oh.
We had it's going to be in reverse, and then there are a lot of some things they added in. The COC told me that they added some chicanes. Chicanes are put in the stages to reduce the speeds of the drivers because it was so fast in Barara, and the unfortunate accident that we had in Barara happened in that event, the Mama stage.
Yeah.
Then it was in Mama stage, now it's a Mama stage. So they have put in some chicanes to reduce on the pace of the drivers. So, but just know altogether, Pal Rally is going to be exciting. Being in Barra, it's even more exciting.
Obviously, our producers know a thing or two about Barra. They have had the party there, but what they don't know for sure is Reiki. Bana Reiki kwekuisa mukumoto kanola baru tuzidi that should be
it's
easy.
Not about seeing. It's not about you. you write notes.
Yes.
You write notes because last time I told you, each driver has a different note.
Exactly.
Like you could be going through the same stage where someone puts a caution, another person will put a flat out. I've told you about when Rajiv, co driver, came out when he was telling him cautious, calling on the caution, and then for Rajiv was like, maybe I'm seeing a flat out. So each driver writes their own notes in a different way.
Yep.
Yeah, it depends.
Generally, but Reiki kwekuisa munula ba wanu ngenda vuga wente and all that. Interesting, but obviously, I want to start with the first things first. Where are the battle lines? Where are the battle lines in this rally, the Pearl of Africa rally?
First of all, Pearl of Africa is the second round of the Africa Rally Championship. The first one was Safari Rally, which happened in March in Kenya. Being ARC, at the same time, it's going to be the third round of the National Rally Championship.
Yeah.
So under Africa Rally Championship, we have categories. There is the ARC Top Tire, we have the ARC 3, and the ARC 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Then, of course, the National Rally Championship also has the categories of the two-wheel drive category, and the CRC, the Clubman Rally Championship. So those are the battle lines already defined for the Pearl of Africa Rally. But the main focus, obviously, is on the Africa Rally Championship, being the Africa Rally Championship event. Yeah. So that's where the main focus is. Yeah.
Let's start right there with the Africa Rally Championship round. Who are some of the big names that we fans or everybody should be looking out for who will be competing in the African Rally Championship?
We have foreign crews who are contending for this year's Africa Rally Championship, and one of them is Karan Patel. Karan is a two-time ARC champion, the reigning champion. and then it was followed by Saman Vora. Saman is a new driver in Kenya. He's a champion in Kenya, KNRC champion, but parallel is going to be his 9th event. Then we have Yasin Nasser, our own Yasin Nasser, the 2-time national rally champion and the Tanzania national rally champion. Very unique, yes.
Very unique.
Yeah, so we have Yasin Nasser. These 3 names that I've mentioned, they are the ones that have cars that are quite similar, the most superior cars in this event. They are driving the Rally 2 cars. Yasin with the Ford Fiesta Rally 2, the 2 are doing the Skoda Rally 2 cars. So those are quite superior, and automatically they are in the position to fight for the top tier ARC title. But any crew that is classified under ARC, they can win the ARC top tier title. It depends on the overall points. Then another visiting crew, we have Sachania, Nikhil Sachania. Nikhil Sachania is a unique driver. He's a paraplegic driver. Paraplegic, I hope you understand that he has he has a disability. Yeah, he has a disability with his legs. So he's coming with a Rally 3 car. Yeah, he will be competing for Rally 3, but still will be scoring for ARC main top tier. So being a paraplegic, Sachania he became paralyzed when he was as a young boy. Yeah, he was doing buggies and then got an accident, and he became paralyzed. But he never accident, he never quit from pursuing his dream, and he has been driving since then. And being a unique driver, someone would ask, so many people ask a question.
Actually, that is what I was going to ask. A person of that state, what kind of car does he drive? What is inside that car? How does he drive it?
That's why I was saying that Sachania is unique.
Extremely.
Yes, his car, he has a modified steering. So all the brakes, the accelerator are on the steering. So he uses his hands to drive.
There is nothing like...
everything that he needs to move that car is on the steering. Yeah, that's like you see on the screens. Yeah, everything is there. Whatever he wants is on the steering. So that's how unique he is. And though someone might think that the car is not homologated, but people of that kind, that nature, we are given the waiver. So Sachania can easily, he can qualify for ARC, and he's here actually for points, because when I talked to him, he said that he wants to have a top position in ARC and to win the ARC 3, so that it can determine whether he could go far or not to stop from Uganda. And he will be visiting Uganda for the first time. The same with Saman. They are going to race in Uganda for the first time. Yes.
Interesting. Of course, you talked about the car classes, the strength of the car, and everything around that. Here in Uganda, we know Sebuguza ine chuma, Dankana ine chuma, Chikankana ine chuma. How does somebody get into ARC? How does somebody qualify to drive into the ARC?
Before I answer that, I did not mention some of the Ugandan drivers that are going to be in ARC too. Like I told you, if your car is homologated, FIA homologated, you automatically qualify to be under ARC too. And we have drivers like Mustafa Mokasa, we have drivers like Aine Sodo,
Aine Sodo, the big man's brother?
Yes, Aine Sodo.
Okay.
So all those crews that still have cars which have homologation, they will qualify for ARC. Yeah. But though the difference is they will be under group, the cars that are group N, even Mukula, the one on the screen, will be under ARC 2. The group N cars, they qualify for ARC 2. Okay. Now you're talking about the cars that Sebuguzi. Why am I saying that? Yasin,
you're mentioning names, but
yes,
you're
Yasin Karan, Yasin Karan and Samana having the most superior cars in this event, while the Sebuguzi, Duncan, and probably Constance cars. When it comes to Uganda, we say they have the machines. Yes, they have the machines, but they're quite different. Yes, Sebuguzi, Duncan, Consta, even you can talk about the GV's VW Polo. Yes, those are proto cars. A proto car in full is a prototype. So these are cars that have probably 2 in 1. So when you look at this WRC, the Rally 2 cars of Yasin, They are factory cars and homologated. I'm trying to find the right word to use, but these are cars that are advanced in technology and have high performance compared to these other cars. For example, that is a big word to say. I will not say that because they are actually
They are
radical.
cars,
Yes,
but
but they have some difference. When you look at Yassini's car, Karan Patel, and then this Saman Vora, the Rally 2 cars.
Yep.
They have high technology compared to the others. For example, the suspension, the high modified suspensions. Then the aerodon system is enhanced, and this one gives them high performance, and they are homologated. Okay. That's why they are doing ARC. Now, talking about the proto cars, Seboguzi is driving Ford. Yes, a proto. Yeah. So being a prototype, that means it could be a two-in-one car. For example, Seboguzi's car, when you look at the body is of a different car, let's say Ford, but the drivetrain is of a different car. Yeah. So Seboguzi's specific car, the drivetrain of Seboguzi's car is over Evo 10. Yeah. You understand? And it's on suspension. Yes, it's having this suspension, RF4 suspensions. Yeah. When you look at Duncan's car is a proto, but it's different from what Seboguzi has and Consta has. Seboguzi's Duncan's car could come closer to these R2s, but does not make the R2 car. Because for Duncan's car, Chikankane, it's running on R5 suspension. Okay. Yes, and the drivetrain is different. It's over different car. Yep. That's why they are called prototype, and they are not yet homologated by FIA. Okay. When it comes to speed, because don't expect just because you have the Rally 2 cars and you would say that they are going to be it's going to be a walkover for them. No. Yep. These proto cars are actually fast. And trust me, just because for them, the ARC crews are given an advantage, a leeway. They don't need to be distracted with these other crews that are not on ARC. Yeah. But when you look at the times, don't be surprised when probably Seboguzi, Duncan, or even Consta, they are ahead of these Rally 2 cars because the car could be powerful. Yeah. Compared to
you just reminded me of a person that I know, but they wanted to have a Bentley interior and everything else. So when I'm not talking
but okay, now you're talking.
They can compete, yes. They can compete on the road. They're all going to run 180 kilometers per hour. But
okay, let me get you see my the car that Raymond drives. Raymond can bring that car.
We were not mentioning names.
Okay, sorry, my producer. Yes, sorry, my producer. Yeah. He can make that car a rally car. You've seen the Toyota Vitz, the Toyota Alex. Yes, a Toyota Alex. It's a matter of modifying it. You put the roll cages, you meet the safety precautions of a rally, then you can bring it. And then you'll be scoring under the two-wheel drive category. So you can make your car anything that you want, a Bentley, anything that you want. Anyway, it's all about modification.
You're building his confidence up for calling BM Massacre. But, Sherifa, so... Yes. About the local, obviously, Karan Patel was there last year and
yes,
he won.
Yeah.
Obviously, he will come into this rally with that sort of confidence.
When I talked to the stories already in Kawowo, when I talked to Karan, he said that he's so hungry. He still needs to win the titles. Yeah. You know, ARC has always been going to Kenya. Yeah. It's only recent that a Zambian won the ARC. Yeah. So I think Karan wants to match up the numbers because Manville was here and he wants a power rally 3 consecutive times. Yeah. Karan has only won once. Yeah, he has been here twice, but last year he won it, but probably wants a third ARC title. Yeah. So Karan is going to be the set pace. He will set the pace. Yeah. Yeah, it will be the benchmark. Yeah. His paces are the pace is already approved first driver. We've seen him, what he does in Kenya, what he has been doing previous in ARC. So Karan Patel, yes, is a man to beat when it comes to ARC. I told you, Saman Vora, this is going to be his 9th event overall. Yeah. And he's bringing in a car that is quite powerful for someone who is a rookie. So, but he's a fast driver. When you look at his times in Safari Rally, he was really competing with some of the experienced drivers. Yasin Nasser has been running for ARC before. Unfortunately, he lost it in Rwanda last year. Yes, when he had an accident, and then Karan Patel passed him in points. But Yasin Nasser being home, is on the home grounds. He also has an advantage, and he has proved himself to be a fast driver. But it all gets down to Mbara. By Saturday evening, we shall know who really was the man on the skills.
You talked about Manville, and I remembered in one of the super special stages where everybody left, I felt saying, Abana Kenya Baka. And at the time he was, I think he was bringing that car for the people. Most Ugandans will sing it for the first time.
Skoda Fabia.
The Skoda Fabia. They sing it for the first time.
They used to call it Akasode.
Yes.
Akasode car, because the guy was fast.
Yes.
Because these cars, like I was telling you, these cars, whoever is having a Rally 2 car, if nothing happens to the car, mechanical is like if they have a mechanical setback, if nothing happens to that car and they're fast enough, trust me, they have an advantage over anyone else.
Okay.
So the competition, I would not be wrong to say that it's going to be among those three. Then these others, the proto ones, they are fast, but these people have an advantage. So it's going to get down to the skills.
They have an advantage, they have the skills.
When we had that Skoda Fabia, Manville had his time, and he enjoyed being here in Uganda because it had all sorts of names, Kasode, and so many things, because the car was fast, and they had not seen something like that before.
Yeah. Let's move on to, obviously, the local category, the National Rally Championship category, where having already told us that the Sewuguzi, Duncan cannot be part of the ARS category. So it means, if anything, they'll be scoring on the national category. Let's head into a category. First of all, one that Ponciano Wakataka is dominating with an inferior car, if I might put it that way.
Hey, please don't. That car is not inferior.
A lesser car. Okay.
No. It's not. That is a strong car. It is a strong car.
Compare
yes.
to the two.
But if you're saying that is an inferior car, and the guy has been winning events when these people have been there.
It's where the skills come in.
No, but it's not as strong. It's not an inferior car.
So I'm making a comparison with the two that you said are almost close to the best cars, and now he's leading. Doesn't that come down to the skills that the driver has? But let's talk about the national category a little bit.
Yeah, like I've told you, Pearl of Africa Rally is going to also double as the third round of the National Rally Championship. Yeah. Right now, Rakataka is vying for his third NRC title, and is currently leading the championship. The previous event in Masaka had some controversies that I will not really go into the nitty-gritties of it, but there were some controversies. Some people are alleging that there was some kind of cheating and all that. So some people are looking at this event to see that really what happened in Masaka was the actual truth. I'm not going to talk about the specific driver. So when it comes to the NRC competition, also the battle lines are set, are defined. We have the NRC, we have the two-wheel drive category, and then we have another one in the Clubman Rally Championship where we have the Rockies. We have Ahmed Katete, that is the son of Abdu Katete, the rally driver. And then we have Kevin Bebeto. Bebeto is a nephew to Koko Ranjit, also a rally driver.
Who was a speed merchant.
Yes, that is also a battle to look out for, because they are in their own category, given their age, young, and they have their own battles. Drivers. Now for the NRC, Sebogusi is looking at, he really wants also a fourth title. So they are the title contenders, Ponciano Rakataka. We have Mike Mokola coming in the mix there. We have Musa Segamo. Yeah. So Rakataka, yes, he has been dominating, he has been consistent.
With an 12?
Yes.
And then Mokola has an 14, I think?
Yes.
Susan Mwonge has N14 as well?
N12B.
12B. Compared to the...
But Susan, we did not talk about Susan when we were talking about ARC. Her car qualifies for ARC too, and she was excited, and she thinks that this is the time for her to probably try out rallying outside Uganda. She has never been outside Uganda, so if she really decides to go for ARC too, we shall definitely see her in Rwanda, probably in Burundi or Tanzania, and she could have a chance. She could have a chance. In this rally, she said that she's not going to come and prove.
Yeah.
Susan has already proved her point.
Two-time
yes,
champion.
two-time champion, and a female at that.
Yep.
You're not going to find it anywhere in Africa. Of course, there will be in these other categories, but a national champion who is a female. So in Pearl Rally, she's not going to be proving a point, but she could be going for ARC points, ARC 2 points, and it will be a very good move for her to go for ARC 2.
Yeah.
I'll be happy for her.
Absolutely. I mean, having Mwonge expanding her wings, obviously, she's liked by, of course, the fraternity. You don't get into a male-dominated.
Even if you don't like her, you're forced to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You don't get into a male-dominated sport like that and make a big impact as she has. But Sharifa, as we wrap the thing up. Of course, it is very hard to predict in motorsport. You don't know what is going to happen on the road. But I want to put you on the spot. ARC category. Who do you think will win? Yes, top 2. Give me top 2.
I'm not going to go far from the statement that I said that, honestly, Karan Patel is the man to beat.
Okay. Karan
Patel is the man to beat. And who is going to beat him? I'm looking at Yasin Nasser. Yasin Nasser really wants to go for this ARC title. Yeah. Yasin Nasser, Saman, because
Bora was pretty fast in at home.
Yes, when you look at, because I don't want to relate him with the KNRC events, but in Safari Rally before he had those mechanical problems, he was really
so luck is very important in this thing.
Yes, moving. No, luck is everywhere in everything that we do. There is an event, I don't remember that, it's in WRC. It's some years back. There's this lorry driver who retired from an event, and the guy was at the airport going back home. Yeah. So his competitor only needed to finish the event. The guy was somewhere, and they called him that you're the champion. The other guy retired. He got a mechanical. Yes, he had a mechanical problem and did not finish the event. Only needed to finish the event. Yeah. So anything can happen. Oh. There is an event that happened in Barara there was a contention between Rajiv and Ponciano Rakataka. Yeah. That event, that is one that reminds me of Rajiv. Rajiv was really, moving. Right. Yes, and they had this battle with Rakataka. Rajiv retired over a mechanical problem. Yeah. Rajiv left. He thought that Rakataka was going to win the event. Yeah. Only to hear that Rakataka also retired out. You could not believe. Yeah. So until the last FF, that is the final finish. Yeah. So you cannot determine. But still, we can't predict. Okay. Like I said. Yeah. So it is Karan. But I would wish
Yasin
for Yasin, because Yasin has won the Pearl Rally before. So I would really love it for a Ugandan.
Yes. Let's Mwonge and Mukula?
ARC2.
Yes.
ARC2, Susan Mwonge being away for sometimes almost 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, since she has been away for sabbatical. So such a person, you can predict, but still...
Of course you can put in the...
Okay, once a champion, always a champion, but... Yeah, once a champion, always a champion. But the fact, now I look at on the side of the car. Yeah. The car's been out for a long time. Yeah. As she had enough time to prepare this car. You see, but for the ARC2,
you put Mukasa ahead of her?
No. I will not put Mukasa ahead of her. For ARC2, definitely, Mustafa, yes, not ahead. Mustafa.
I said I'm going to put you on the spot.
Indeed, this is a spot. Okay, yes, Mukula. I'll put Susan is there to finish. Okay. Because she wants to finish, but yes, Mukula. Okay. Mukula is one to beat in ARC2.
Okay. National category. Ponciano, Sebuguzi, Duncan Muwiru, Speed Match. He's an entertainer. People always say that Muwiru is just, he's an entertainer, but when it comes to actual rallying where you need to score points, it becomes a bit challenging. National category. Top 2.
Well, Chikankane had the same driving style as Rajiv.
Yeah.
Risk takers. Yeah. For as long as he sees the way, he knows that the car can pass, he will go flat out. Okay. And yes, I will give it to Duncan. Rakataka has been consistent, but I know what happened in Masaka. The people had problems. If let's say that all crews don't have any challenges, yes, I would still give it to Duncan.
Oh, okay.
But this guy, sorry, John Consta,
John Consta.
is also one
Karumuna.
to, yes, Karuma is also one to look out for.
Okay.
He's also a fast driver. So if they're all lucky and they'll reach the FF without any problems,
Yeah.
so Duncan will be there, Sebuguzo will be in the mix.
Okay.
But I'll give it to Duncan.
Thank you, Sharifa, for giving us this big insight of motorsport, the Pearl of Africa Rally. Interesting. In case we're just watching Weekly Wars for the first time, Sharifa Ramanamagova is our in-house motorsport expert. Success International. She has covered everything, everything motorsport. From World Rally Championship, National Rally Championships, of course, the regional
Formula
championships,
One.
and all that.
Hey, you mentioned also Formula One.
And Formula One, by the way. You were in Dubai.
Yes, and I want
Yas
to go
Marina.
somewhere
Is that what
else,
they call
yes.
Yas Marina?
Yes, Yas
Yeah.
Marina.
Yeah. So when it comes to motorsports,
Panay.
we got you covered.
Such a profile.
Very, very, very big profile. Turkey Rally, Turkey. Of course, you were in the UK the other day. You, Chimalecho. Guys, all right. We shall move on to the biggest thing outside of motorsports that you've been waiting for, the Ginger Hippos and Black Pirates qualified for the finals of the national or the Uganda Rugby Premiership, and the final will be happening next weekend on Saturday. And Hippos did what the unthinkable. That is the unthinkable. They beat favorites of that game, KCB Cobs at Legends, while of course Pirates, as largely expected, beat the Platinum Crate Heathens at Kings Park. And so we shall now move to a guy who has been quiet for a while, and we want him to talk now. We are in his comfort zone. Let's start with Friday, Joseph. What did you say at Legends when the Hippos played Cobs?
First of all, one thing was clear, that the Hippos were not here to play, of course, proverbially. Yeah, but the Hippos, obviously, they arrived on Thursday, and that's a very interesting anecdote I got from one of their players, that they arrived on Thursday, then requested to use the pitch at Legends for their training, and that request was denied. Then they also requested the management at Kings Park for a pitch that they can use for their, sort of captain's run. And that request was also denied. So it seems when it came to Friday, it was quite personal for them. It was like, you refused us to train from here, now let us beat you in your home ground. Yeah, but away from that, on the game day itself, the Hippos' plan was simple. Let us play in your half. Let us force those penalties, especially off the scrums, and let us exploit those penalties by scoring those 3 points. And that was a plan that was perfectly executed by Yasin Waswa, who had 17 points just off his boot alone on the day.
Let's start from the basics. The teams that were named for that match, we saw Timothy Mudola naming 6 forwards on the bench. That was some sort of caution that he kind of knew what was coming, which has been pretty much Hippos' game all the time. Everybody has known, everybody around rugby has known Hippos have quite a strong scrum. And when Mudola responded to that by naming that team, a bench that had forwards dominating in the split, you thought he knew what Hippos were going to bring. But did you say enough to convince you from the Cobs in terms of forward play?
I think, first of all, for the Cobs, that team selection came down more to what the Cobs can do and the sort of players they have and the game plan they have. It has nothing to do with the Hippos, because the Hippos have a pack of forwards that can push for about 120 minutes. That is a full match plus extra time. So those forwards, you don't plan for them. You plan your own game and probably plan to go for punch. However, what I think that the forwards of the Cobs were a bit off on the day. The forwards of the Cobs were a bit off on the day. Then also their replacement forwards were quite unlucky, because when you see Trevor Maina coming on, he came on, we all know what he can do, then he got injured almost immediately. Then Then also, Mike Yoto, a player that I highly rate, came on, but is usually hidden in the second row, and this time he had to deputize at the front row, which he has played multiple times before. But I guess that switching from second to first row isn't doing him any favors. Yeah, so he also got a yellow card in that game after coming on as a substitute. So I believe that if at all the Cobs forwards had done their homework, they just didn't execute on the day.
You talk about the forwards doing their homework. I want to look at the forwards that have been really productive for Cobs, especially that back three. Back row, if I may call it that. Actually, the back row of Odiambo, Ogena, and sometimes they want to put Muchiga there. But especially Odiambo, he carries Ogena. Hippos knew this way the real ball carriers for the Cobs. Did you feel they were neutralized well enough that they were ineffective throughout the game?
Yes, of course, they were neutralized. We all know the threat that a player like Odiambo can cause. He's even the top scorer for the Cobs. But on the day when him and Pius Ogena were actually silenced by the Hippos defense, you could argue that for the Hippos and playing against Andrew Odiambo, it was of course quite personal. But for the other players who are in that back row, you get the feeling that they didn't live up to what the opposite numbers were doing. For example, Isaac Rujumba was very brilliant. He has been so good the whole season. There is a young man called Bright Mukisa. Wow, what a boy. He's a very big ball carrier. He tackles well. He's also one that is fun to watch, because usually when there is like an injury break or some sort of break, when you look around the Hippos and notice someone dancing, that is probably Bright Mukisa. And then, of course, David Wako, a player that you rate very highly, David Wako, aka Booster, finishes that back row at number 8. And then when you look the other side at the Cobs side and the quality that they have that didn't deliver on the day, then you start asking your questions: did they really deserve to be in the final?
You talk about, and then I'm looking at one of the things that I thought Hippos wanted to test Cobs, where that they had Josiah Sempeke at the back. At the start of the game, you thought Josiah was a bit timid. They kicked 2 high balls to him, knocked on one. The next one, he couldn't keep it on the pitch. Do you feel Cobs 15 was a little bit shaky in that regard, if I may put that way? There was not a lot of control from the back.
Yes, Franklin, there is something you highlighted last week, that Josiah Sempeke isn't a 15, and I think now everyone agrees. Whereas he's a very good player, he has struggled a bit at 15. When you have players like Ibrahim Kemis on your bench, even Arinaitu himself, Karim, who can cover that position, then if you have Joseph Aredo in there as well, you have very many options that you can play at 15. You also have other youngsters within their ranks like Rasul Abiriga, who can also come and play in that position. But if at all the coach has decided to select a given player, that's a coaching decision that fans can only judge after.
Throughout, I mean, for the large part of the season, one of the criticisms that Hippos have taken is not being productive from their dominant scrum. Did you see something different with how they used their scrum against Cobs in that second round?
Yes. Finally, the Hippos scrum answers that question of what next. I think that's a question that they began answering from the previous game day, the first semi-final. They answered that question in Jinja, and when they came to Kampala, they excelled at it. We were always asking them, what next? When you get that scrum, what next? And now they have answered it in such a way that when they get that scrum, we saw 2 scores from that is Aziz Bagalana off the scrum, off that dominant scrum. Then we also saw them when they dominate that scrum and they get that penalty, Yasin Waswa is able to punish them. Then there is something interesting that you noted about their scrums.
I look, I've not seen a team in rugby usually it is very hard to find a team play their forwards, all their 8 forwards, 80 minutes. And Hippos, somehow Edmond Charisma decided he should have all the guys there play the entire 80 minutes. And one of the things that I noted is that every time Hippos wanted to use that scrum, they had to use it in the Cobs half. They usually they would every time when they get a penalty, they would call for a scrum even in their own half. But in that game, they clearly wanted to use that scrum in the Cobs half, where if there is any penalty that is gotten out of the scrum, they either going for points or they can easily get another scrum penalty that they can extend the meters and that kind of stuff. When you have a scrum as dominant as that, I think the Hippos were so intentional about where they wanted to get the scrum at. They did not call for it in their own half. And when you listen to what Coach Karizma was saying in the post-match interview that he had with several media houses, he was saying what we wanted is to make sure we are within striking range. We wanted to have an advantage in the red zone. And that is where you kind of want to ask, was Cobs ready for that kind of attack? But when you look at the way the team was named, it was quite. When you have all those scrums and you only win one scrum penalty, Cobs won one scrum penalty. That I saw, and the only way they could win the scrum is by going low. None of the scrums, the rest of the scrums, the Cobs just couldn't go low. I don't know why. I happened to be near the Cobs bench. I could hear some of the instruction that was coming from the bench. The instruction was go as low as possible. To force the other team from going up, so that there is a penalty that is made, but they did not. I wouldn't understand whether it is a failure to grasp the communication from the bench, whether players were just not ready enough. But again, throughout the season, I don't think as much as Cobs has tried to play. Of course, they have won games and all that. I don't think there is a game where, I'm talking about a big game where you're playing against your matches where you've seen Cobs really construct a try out of their back play. Okay, when you have majority of your players on the national team and you have some senior players on your back line, you're talking Munyani, you're talking Redo, obviously Karima Renaitri and all that. You have Marcos on the other wing. These are players who can make something happen if there is at least a play that has been constructed from the training ground to get the ball to the wingers, something. But it was very hard to see.
Franklin, you seem to suggest that Cobs doesn't do anything deliberate with that ball when it gets to the back line. But also, just to take us back a little bit, if you remember the game against Pirates,
yes.
You will notice that the one who was causing most of the danger for the Pirates was actually a young man, Stuart Mwai,
yes,
who has been very consistent for the Cobs the whole season.
In that number 9 shot.
Yes, he always caught them off guard and
yes,
offside with those quick starts.
Yes.
Even that try, that drop goal that Josiah Sempeke scores comes off Stuart Mwai comfortably with a lot of composure, managing all those phases, phase by phase until Josiah is in that pocket and able to put away those extra 3 points. So for me, I feel like in a backline that has been almost changing a lot, and then you have that constant one player, that would be a good place to start for the Cobs next season.
Yeah, but I want to look at Cobs in a way where, look, Jeremiah Okera at Pirates, he's not, in terms of if you want to make a comparison, he's not Karima Renaitwe, he's not Marcos Una. Of course, that is not saying Marcos Una's speed has dropped a little bit and all that, but you're talking in terms of experience and all that, in ability to navigate through defenses. You cannot have the winger of the caliber of Renaitwe and Marcos Una, and these guys are not scoring. Again, I was talking about the first leg of that tie in Ginger where Marcos Una scores off a phase. that is like a winger shouldn't be scoring.
Next to the
He
posts.
shouldn't be scoring that kind of tries out of phases and all that, unless the ball has gone out and all that. By the time you suck in a winger to come and score off a phase, it means there is something that is not being done right in our way. And for me, if anything, I don't think, in my view, again, I'm not at the training ground every time, but I don't think, I mean, from what is put on the pitch, I don't think there is enough practice with how Cobs use their backline to score. That is what has been very clear almost all season.
Yeah, of course, sometimes the winger will find themselves running those inside channels, especially against the bigger, less mobile forwards. But if at all they are the ones involved in those pick and drives to score the try, then it asks a lot of question. But just to go back to that number 15 question, I feel like players like Ibrahim Kemis should be given more time in that position. If you have a player who will do for you all the basics right, just put them in and let the superstars do what they do, and let not to call them basic, but let the for lack of a better word, let the basic players do the basics that they do very well.
The one thing for sure I've seen from this Cobb side is that there's been a lot of improvisation, and that's not a good way to win a game of rugby or a tie of rugby over two legs. If you're winning of improvisation, let's get a kick through, let's get in, milk a penalty and score here. That is not intention. That is reactive rugby. That is not proactive rugby. And you want to believe a team of Cobb's caliber should be intentional, should be proactive. Actually, the opponent should be reacting to what they are doing and not them reacting to what opponents are doing. And I really feel that has lacked this season. And if anything, this rugby of improvisation needs to change. I think coaches have a lot of work to do, especially, and the reason why I'm even more concerned about the backline play is because the two coaches, Timothy Mudola and Keith Young, these were backs. Ideally, you should be having a thing or two about how to get your backs productive more than what Cobs have really shown us, especially in crunch ties.
Yes, and then when you look back at their opponents on the day, on last Friday, that is the Ginger Hippos. The Ginger Hippos have been more deliberate in what they do in the backs. You can tell that Aziz Bagalana knows exactly what he's doing with those box kicks and those phases. You can tell that Yasin Waswa, those clearance kicks, the boy can hang a bomb. Oh my God. Then their centers, are actually quite young boys. Emmanuel Odoi and I think Edgar Lemeriga. I may be confusing him with the Buffaloes Lemeriga. Yes, but that one. Then, of course, the resurgence of John Echeru, who was, of course, previously at the fly half position, but now he's playing at the wing. When you have John Echeru, a very intelligent player who can punish any team on the day at one wing, then you have a bulldozer of a man on the other wing, that is Polisi. You're bound to gain some meters in attack.
With Bakasa waiting. Anyway.
With Bakasa on bench, and also Bruno Chisule at 15, who is also another sure hands player.
But anyway, of course, when we left here last week, we thought Cobs would advance. Too bad for both of us. That didn't happen, but we're happy for Hippos. But let's wrap up with what happened at Kings Park. Obviously, Pirates went with an advantage of a try. At that, they score fast. What did you say at Kings Park?
First of all, Kano Kansoken Kaiseo, Edi Chiwanuka, Don Mugabe is looking for you. You guys had a bet. You had a bet, and it is time to collect. But what I saw, first of all, when we were here last week, I talked about the Pirates being plus 12 points ahead at halftime, and it seemed very ridiculous. But of course,
it was actually at the time, yes.
Yes,
because and then you thought, Heathens would come, and because they're the ones who are chasing, they should be the first to get on the board.
Yes, but then when the Pirates see the mistakes and all the chances that they left wanting at Heathens, I believe that is a team that can go and clean up and come back and win that game. Of course, that try by the young man you mentioned earlier, Jeremiah Okello, he's such a very good finisher. Once it sees that try line, he's getting there, and of course that assist by the man of the match himself, Eric Aturinda, whom we managed to talk to after the game, and he shared with us his mindset in and after the game. And then of course I felt like William Corey maybe wasn't ready to come back.
Wasn't fit,
yes, he had that small injury scare at
Chadondo.
At Chadondo, although he managed to finish that game on the pitch. But still he came back. Of course, a good player, Tafa Chenda, Obachinana in this case. A good player, Tafa Chinana. He was, he managed to execute. Then Ivan Magom coming on. We really missed Ivan Magomo and the basics that he brings to that attack. He won't do anything fancy if he doesn't want to, of course. But once he does those basics of bringing the forwards into play, bringing in the backs to play, maybe slotting in that penalty, kicking behind defenses, a role that he's now being deputized by, of course, Isaac Masangazira, who was on various occasions this season, showed us that he has a boat on him.
Anyway, look, there are two things that I noticed at Kings Park. One is that if you are a rugby team, it is very, very important to use your player advantage if you get one. And nobody utilized that advantage like Aaron Oforos. Nobody on that pitch knew how to use that advantage like Aaron Oforos. The moment went to the bin, the moment Roy Chizito went to the bin, every ball in the air was landing in that territory, and Muhammad Haruna was left in a place of confusion. Should he cover? Should he not? Should he cover? Should he not? And obviously it was very, very tough, and no surprise that Heathens quickly scored through those opportunities. But the moment they came back in two-fold complement, obviously it was always going to go one direction, especially when you have Ivan Magom and Buju coming off the bench. It was always going to be tough. But the other thing that I noticed was that yourself, obviously, you've and me, of course, I'm not going to take myself out of it. We have been critical of how Wanyama kick, how Wanyama sometimes gets those box kicks up. Sometimes we look at them and see this wasn't necessary, really. But there's something I noticed about Pirates kicking that day, that every time they put in the ball up, they were not putting it in space. They were as if targeting players on the wing. They kind of wanted to give the ball to either Okenyi or Etwawu on their side. And my small rugby knowledge every time kept on, why are these guys doing so? And then I was looking at the reaction from the bench, the Pirates bench, like, okay, the guys have pretty much kicked in somebody's hands, but it's not that somebody has gone there and fielded it, but it's as if the kick was delivered to that person. And then I'm looking at how the Pirates bench, technical bench, is going to react, and they're as cool as water. And I don't know, I couldn't get my head around it. I haven't gotten my head around it yet. I don't know why they're doing that.
Obviously, in some instances, I can remember one instance where it was kicked to Okenyi, and it was nightmares for Jeremiah Okello on that wing. But in the other instances where they deliberately kick to those wingers or to those wings, it's usually to put pressure on those wingers, because in essence, once the winger gets the ball from their wing, it is now them against the defender and the line. Whereas once you kick to the fullback straight in the middle,
they can
then
go
the
either way.
fullback can go either way. And one thing you don't want to do is to kick to a player like Okello Malcolm, who can step you on either foot. Of course, you also don't want to kick straight to a player like Haruna Muhammad, that's if
Who was as defensive as they come.
yes,
I
Haruna
mean, many people
that
are
was
surprised
a
at how
very
Haruna played that
that
game.
was a very disciplined display from Haruna Muhammad. He was always getting those balls in the 22 and of course kicking for touch or kicking for territory. He wasn't allowing to play in his own 22, something that he has done on several occasions before, pulling off that dummy that everyone sees coming but can't do anything about, or even a small step here and there, or even a bang because he has some size on him. But he was very disciplined on the day. William Koi was also kicking very well on the day. I think Wanyama wasn't kicking so well. He was just giving away that possession every time. Especially when they are getting in those prime areas, forcing those kicks when they do not have an advantage. I feel like that was a bit shaky, but that is something they cleaned up on when Buju came on. Then another note for me from that game, you see how brilliant Alex Atuenda was on the day.
Yes.
Then you remember that try by Sydney Gongodio to bring them back in the game.
Yes.
Then you remember all the defensive work that Massa and Chisiga did in the middle of that pitch to quell Michael Wokorach.
Yes.
Then you see all the racks that Areho Mumza and Among Elifaz were banging or keeping that position. You realize that this is a team that could have easily had about 2 or 3 man of the matches on the day, and that is something that will be very worrying for the Ginger Hippos.
You talk about Sydney, and then I mean I'm thinking he has started. Okay, it's not a long rugby career that he has had in the Premiership, but he started as a loose forward, and in this series he's pretty much played as a lock. Is he excelling that new role?
Yes, of course, he's doing very well in that new role. Of course, we know he's also a jumping option alongside Moses Ziwa. Of course, Tashobia hasn't been featuring much. The other lock being Eliphaz Emong, Eman Mountain, like Eliphaz Emong, or even Omar Dafo, Brandon Keba, if they're available. Looks that I do not think can be carried by our props here. That can be carried by our props here. They are very big boys. And those are boys that open you in, that punish you in open play. But I feel that Sydney Gongodio has adapted very well in that lock position. He has played it before, by the way. But just because that the resources that at Pirates' disposal, you will find they have the luxury of playing Frank Chidega at lock, and next week is at flank. And they will do the same thing. In fact,
they just switch them around.
You get exactly. So we of course the other loose forwards like Desire who are just coming back. We shall see what they have to offer in that final.
And let's jump onto the final and then conclude. Same ground. First of all, what are your thoughts on how these teams are going to put out or compete in that game? It's a one-off, by the way, for guys who don't know. It's a one-off final. It's not going to be a home and away, and it's happening at Kings Park on Saturday. Tactically, how do you approach that game? If you are Pirates, if you are Hippos?
It's going to be a kicking game. Those teams are going to kick the whole day. At some point, we may see a ping pong between Bruno Chisule or Yasin Waswa on one end and William Kore or Ivan Magomo and Haruna Muhammad on the other. Of course, that kicking in such a way that once the Hippos kick to you, then they can press you in your half. But once you kick to them and maybe something, maybe they fumble or something, they can always defend that scrum and maybe even regain that possession. So they are both going to be very reliant on those kicks. So that is something we should look at, and I hope Isaac Massa is practicing right now to kick from midfield.
And one last one. Obviously, if you're Marvin Odong, of course, he was at Legends. He saw what Hippos did with their scrum. How do you neutralize it? How do you take away Hippos' advantage?
First of all, the Pirates had a prop. I think he was playing loose. Who was always not pushing straight, and that is something that they were punished for. I at least twice. I remember 2 occasions where they were punished for that. Of course, once you're going to play a team that has done scrimmaging, I think for the last 5 or so years, and that's the only thing they've been doing. Once you're going to play such a team, your technique has to be on point. And in that case, that's when you bring back players like Didi. Maybe he's not fit. Maybe he can give you 50 minutes, but you start him. You start him, get the other forwards stirred, so that by the time you bring on your own forwards, they can also hold that scrum. But of course, the technique should be right on the day. Of course, legally, scrummaging is a must. It's not a given, it's a must, legally scrummaging. But working on that technique, and of course, working on just holding that scrum, especially when it is your ball. Just hold it, put the ball in, take it out very fast.
And again, on this end, if your Hippos obviously Pirates have some workaholic forwards, loses especially. It's not a side that you're going to bully with your kind of forward play. There are some workaholics there, but I mean, if you're Hippos, how are you going to neutralize those backline moves that Pirates always try out and almost certain because they have an eighth man who has 70 skills? Or if Desire Era has certain skills, how do you neutralize a team that has forwards that have certain skills? They can pass the ball, they can get around defenders, and obviously in every game, Pirates are always going to get the ball to the wing. How do you neutralize their most attacking option, best attacking option which the Inman use, which is going through their backs?
First of all, we have to give credit to teams like Ginger Hippos and teams like Walukuba. Those are teams that are very fit. By the time we give kudos to the Hippos forwards that they can push for 80 minutes, yes, they are strong, but they are also fit. Then you get to the back line of the Ginger Hippos. It is also very fit, and they have very many young players in there. Players that can that are first of all teachable. They will learn on the spot, and they will be able to adjust. Maybe the inexperience may come in when you have Isaac Massa and Timothy Chisiga running at you. Then maybe they may beat you one-on-one. But I think they have the tactical discipline to stay in shape when they are not in possession and defend those balls. Then, of course, speaking about the forwards, I think Isaac Rujumba will have to be at his very best when it comes 110%. Then they'll have to obviously they will have to look to also their bench. Because you can't play 80 minutes against the Pirates forwards, especially the loose forwards. They can't play those 80 minutes. The eighth man will always either be picking up or joining the line in that in that scrum and creating that extra man in there with the 9, of course, also following. So their losses have to be on their A game when it comes to that game. Obviously, we know what those loose forwards do in terms of tackles and juggling and turning over that ball. So whatever it is that is textbook that a Lucy should do, I think they need about 5 textbooks.
Okay. I want to put you on the spot. Who will be a champion by the end of the day?
It's hard to tell, but I will unfortunately have to go with the Pirates again.
Okay.
Before you wrap up, who is going to be the champion on the day?
No, I made my prediction. I think three or so episodes ago. I expected Pirates to win, and I haven't seen anything that makes me change that prediction yet. Obviously, it is not going to be a straightforward win. Hippos did not get here by mistake. I think they convinced me more that they are at the table of men by the work that they are putting, and so I expect a very, 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 very competitive final at that.
Of course, also just one last thing. They met in the semi-finals last season, and they lost at the Kings Park Arena after winning at home. So that was at the semi-final stage. Now they get to the final stage. I feel like there is a one-off semi-final. So I feel like there is nothing wrong with losing this final, because getting to the final itself is also progress.
Success.
So good luck, Hippos. Good luck, Pirates. May the best team win.
But obviously, just to let our viewers know, Joseph would rather Hippos win than Pirates win. The prediction is not his actual feelings. It's just talking. But thank you for watching. Producers are obviously not happy with us every other day, but let's wrap up from this point. Catch you again next week. Thanks for watching, and Subscribe to our channel, by the way, Kawowo Sports, and also be sure to catch some live basketball, especially on Wednesdays on Kawowo Sports. Thank you for watching. Yep.